Thank you all and welcome. I am Sam Rogers. I'm Editorial Director of Hypebae, and I am thrilled to be here today to chair this panel. Huge thank you to the Metamorphosis team, to the Fashion Council, and eBay, of course, for putting this on. I want to give you all a fair warning, audience. We are planning on having a few minutes at the very end to have questions, so make notes as you go along. But today's topic is about inclusivity, hugely important and interesting. That's why you're all here. But I think you don't need me to tell you that fashion is changing and changing at a rapid pace. So much more needs to happen still, of course, but that doesn't take away how profound the last 5 years have been. And I think the real change has been this move away from tokenism and into an era where fashion is being profoundly redefined by the audience, who not just only want to be seen, but also understood and catered for. And I am thrilled to be joined by an amazing panel of wonderful creators at the very heart of this change. So forgive me for my butchering of pronunciations and also how criminally short these introductions are, but we are on the clock. So I'm going to start at the very end. We have, here we go, BUKI AKOMOLAFE. Yes. Founder and designer of her own conscious clothing brand right here in Berlin. A little round of applause. There we go. Thank you. Oh, you've messed up my order here, but Declan Chan, our content creator and global stylist extraordinaire, thank you. Jordy Arthur Vaesen, a Belgian fashion designer, content creator, and educator. And Lotfi Aoulad. This one's a complicated one. Do you have it all up here? Yeah. UNESCO Program Manager for Cultural Diversity and founder of Das Relais, a Berlin-based collective bridging arts, communities, and well-being. Thank you all for being here. To get us started, I want to hear from each of you. What has been the single biggest shift that you have seen in the last couple of years as to how fashion connects with its audience? Just briefly. Lotfi, I feel like you're the closest to me, so you're in the hot seat.
Okay.
Off you go.
So first of all, let me start to congratulate the Berlin Fashion Week, the city of Berlin, and of course the team of Metamorphosis. They are doing a great job. And if we talk about shift, they're really shifting the Fashion Week, this Fashion Week, to another level. And I will say, probably was from, in the past, something more into performance, and now something about presence. So it's true that fashion, we're more into how you play out roles of gender, your class, or to answer to, institutional expectations. But today, it's more about expressing, about your presence, about the whole narrative. And you can see in the emerging, designers from the diaspora communities, or Marine Serre, for instance, they actually show their commitment, they show who they are, the legacy, narrative, fantasies. And I think we now connect to this kind of, whole narrative. And so let's say that it's from performance to presence.
Love that. Jordy, what do you think?
Maybe more shallow, but I think the switch from photo to video is very present, and yeah, the fashion industry is really trying to close the gap between themselves and the audience.
I mean, it's been a profound change.
Yes,
it's changed so many roles.
Exactly.
Launched your career.
Mine as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
Declan, what do you think?
I just think fashion brands treated audience more as equal, like instead of just feeding them what they want to say, they sort of take in more consideration of how people actually want to see it and what they want to know. So there's more transparency, more inclusivity. I think they started listening than just telling what they want to say. Yeah, I think it's quite exciting.
Very exciting. BUKI, what do you think?
Yeah, I also think it's, the narrative changed and there's more connection between the brands and the customer.
And talking about brands, you have your own brand, and from a design perspective, I'm so interested in how that process, how increased inclusivity has changed your practice.
So for me personally, from a perspective as a Black designer, it's not only about which images we show, it's also about who is behind the brand and who is the person in power and who makes the decisions of which kind of bodies we see, which kind of shapes we see, and also which kind of stories we tell. Because before, like, a lot of stories have been erased or co-opted, and so now it's on us to tell our narratives and change the narrative also on African fashion.
Love that. Jordy, what about from your perspective?
From my perspective, I think, the whole, we don't do sales, like no mass production or so. So everything is really made to order always, just for one customer. So we can basically, make stuff for everybody because, you just come, we measure, and we make. And we design for you. But also, obviously, that's not necessarily very profitable. So aside from that, we can also work on social media, do work as a content creator, but we relate it back to fashion and create and get paid from there as well, so that we have a business that is a little bit more in balance, because it's also a business still.
And making that leap into sort of storytelling and content creation, Declan, I'm interested to hear from you and what you think that divide, that change has been. Inclusivity, how do you take a story from a designer like those sat either side of you and turn that into authentic, compelling storytelling?
Well, I think since the popularity of TikTok, like social media landscape has changed so much. Because before, when there was just Instagram, it's more about the look. And now, I mean, it's definitely not about the look. It's about your voice and authenticity, and whether you have something to say and more to say than just your look, which is great, because it wasn't working for me before because I wasn't looking like a model. And now, I mean, I think it's just more liberal, more democratic. Everyone has the chance. It's like you don't need to have 1 million followers to be seen or heard. So I think, like, in the equal way, like, the brands adapt to their casting, what they choose. For example, if you see like TikTok on Loewe, I mean, it is never what you expect. It's just kind of like almost like they're looking at the feed of like who went viral, and then like the next thing you know, they're already doing like a collaboration with the brand, which is quite fresh. It will never happen before. I mean, I just think it's interesting because I think the brands finally get off the high horse and try to do something that's not too clean and polished, so to speak, and take more risk in the way they communicate. So in that sense, I think it has become more inclusive.
And really building community.
Yeah.
That's really important, isn't it? Lotfi, your work really goes beyond kind of inclusivity. You're really building something completely different, bridging that divide between the arts and community. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the upcoming event?
In London.
In London, yes.
So first of all, you know, as what I try to do, both at UNESCO and also through Das Relais, it's really to make inclusion a living experience. It's at UNESCO, we try to support member states to have data, technical expertise, to feed them with and to advocate why inclusion is important. And so that's why I coordinated the UNESCO's report on the fashion industry in Africa. It's really to show and to support that through the cultural diversity, through diasporic narrative, through the beauty of and fashion, of course, you can promote and say the stories and, of course, create economical inclusion. But through Das Relais, let's say that we try at the local level to create something maybe beyond inclusion, because today inclusion is not enough. As we say, the fashion designers now, the creators and the artists, the new muses, they're queer people, they're from diasporic communities, they're with disabilities, they're parents. And so for that, we need to have a dedicated space to create relays. And so that's why it's DAS, because it's based in Berlin, but Relais, because we need to create connection, to build bridges between different communities, between art, of course, and the notion of well-being. This is really, I think, at the core now of the challenge of the industry. And the Diaspora Wonderland, so what we do, we have one flagship program about Diaspora Wonderland, that is the name, because when you're from diasporic communities, you have some fantasies, you have the legacy of your parents, you have memories, you have some reality because you travel. But so you create kind of a wonderland, kind of different countries that are floating, also, the reality, but it's open to everyone. It's really something because we create it also. We create, we connect, we share together and from different communities. So that's why the name is Diaspora Wonderland. And it's really circular because no wonder that fashion hub like Berlin, Paris, Milan are full of diversity because we fuel all of these ideas and it's so important for the industry to acknowledge that. So that's actually the purpose of Das Relais, to really create connection, bridges, among these different fields and different narratives.
Love that. Buki, you held an event last Fashion Week
Yes.
that also kind of brought that real sense of community. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was an event where we invited other Black creators to showcase their work in order also to amplify our voices. And yeah, it was so good to be like amongst other creatives who have the same challenges, and also to invite the community to be part of. And it was really on an eye-to-eye level with an exchange. And we also had a panel talk, but it was a talk with the audience. So it was really an exchange with everyone included. And that was really a really great experience.
So powerful. And taking that experience into the digital realm, Jordy, I know that we've spoken previously about how powerful TikTok is, and Declan, you just mentioned it as well. But that power dynamic, how have you seen it change, and what impact has it had on you?
I think, I was sharing my work always, like making videos, whatever. And then when TikTok happened, I started sharing my work on TikTok. And then, before I know it, it kind of started to blow up. And then, obviously the partnerships started to roll from that. And it actually turned into a business model that we're still, doing today. So that was really nice. But then also from that, I was sharing videos of how I make outfits and all the looks that I create. I shared the process, and a lot of people actually started asking, hey, this is nice, this is inspirational, but how do you make this, or how do you actually do this? And then from there, I started another platform where I want to, or where I try to educate people on how to make stuff for themselves, because for me as well, a fashion education was difficult to start. It was expensive. It felt very elite to get into that high level of fashion education, and it felt very unfair because I even come from a privileged background. I have a good support system, but there are so many people who don't even have that. What about them? What if they are talented? Where can they go? How can they explore their fashion talent? And I hope that the little platform of how to sew your own stuff and make your own patterns and can be that little tiny dot. And if we have all those tiny dots together, then you don't need that expensive fashion education anymore.
I think that's what I love, the way each one of you, in different ways, is trying to give back and make fashion more inclusive in different ways, not just necessarily for your own, for your shopper or for your audience, but for the fashion industry itself.
Yeah.
Declan, I'd love to hear from you in terms of whether you have any advice for how brands can work with creators in a genuine way to create that cultural relevance that content creators like yourself have, without, at best, borrowing, at worst, co-opting.
I think it's really just down to the way of your casting, because I personally do casting for different brands, for social media projects, and then I also sometimes discuss with my PR friends. It's oh, who's coming to the show, who is invited, who is not. I see that the shifts of the requirement or what the brand looks for has changed a lot. Because before, if it's fashion, people think about, people talk about fashion, or people just look good in fashion. So now it's really more what they do with their life. You could have a pastry chef, and you can have like a book influencers, like Dior just invited an influencer that just talk about book, but because they released this new book, Totes by Jonathan Anderson. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the impact that you have on culture is more important than just your knowledge about fashion. I mean, it's like, so it's a much broader way of thinking to find the right casting to support your marketing message.
That brings me to my next question about the future. So if success before was about aspiration and exclusivity, what does the future look like? What are those metrics for inclusivity in future now? And what does that look like? What does winning look like in fashion for you, BUKI?
For me, it's belonging and also community and also collaboration. I think it's really important to collaborate more and not to try to do it all alone, to work together.
Love that.
Yeah, because to add to what you just said, because I remember we had a call and I was like, oh, I was just in London at Martine Rose's show before starting the Men's Month. Like, it was very interesting because it was not in the schedule and it was like on a Sunday. So before she did the show, she hosted like a marketplace for independent designers that are like a group of his friends that, I mean, obviously need a lot of visibility, support, and then you can like see and like buy their place. It's kind of like a cool flea market. And then I think for someone like Martine to open up like her platform to support and also share these like independent designers is very cool. I mean, like big brands did it before. Like for example, like Gucci did Gucci Hub, which they invited like young designers to sort of reinterpret their fashion code. So I think it's just not just building community with the audience, but also building community amongst designers, because you cannot do this alone.
Yeah, exactly as you've done, BUKI, for sure. Love that. So cultural relevance really is kind of your new metric.
Yeah, like unexpected crossover.
What about you, Lotfi? What do you think in terms of what a new success metric is?
Just to come back to what you said about collaboration, honestly, that's Relais was also the beginning. To really acknowledge the connection between, for instance, Afro-Mediterranean diaspora in Fashion Hub, because for the history you can find a lot of people from these Mediterranean or African countries, and we should not consider that it's a closed borders, because they interact. We interact together. We inspired each other. So that's actually something about collaboration. I think it's really important to have this in mind. About the new metric of success, I would say connection, because it's really hard to make your place, to take your place. But some people manage to. And I think for those who can actually make them place and achieve what they want to do, and I have an example of Orange Culture. It's a Nigerian brand they just did. They really built around them some workshop where they can actually showcase all the challenges they face, also their stories, and it's really also how to share. And they will and I think the future of success is also when you're there, how many people you will bring around you to help them maybe to make them place, and at the end to have the number of all the connection you did and all the community behind you, even if you're not recognized for that. But I think it's really important now to support and to create all this connection for all to be successful and to find, we all have a place, but for some people it's hard to find it. So let's help people to find their chairs. I think it's a new metric of success.
That's lovely. I think transparency is so undervalued sometimes as well. And I think that's very important in your point. Jordy, what do you think of the future, the metric of success?
All my panel members, but also I think just being really able to be you, just really yourself, authentically, and not having the feeling as a designer that you need to create this product because it sells well, or you have to do this because that's the trend, but just really standing in yourself and creating from there. If I can do that and keep on doing that, then I feel like I'm
winning.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I have something to add, though I forgot.
Go for it.
Like speaking about community and exclusivity. I mean, because we talked about inclusivity, but like the new way of. I saw something last week that's very interesting that Dior did, that play with the concept of exclusivity and inclusivity. So what it did was they used social media like how all of us actually use social media. So they create a close friend list, and then only on the day before the show, or 2 days before the show, they share some teaser that hasn't been posted anywhere to just a close friend list, but you don't even know that you're in the close friend list. So some of our friends is like sort of freaking out, like, what is going on? Why are we in this close friend list and being shared with things that's not shared with anyone? So in that game, it's kind of like, it become so talked about because you don't know what that means. So I mean, I just think like, I think that go back to your question earlier of like how brand approach this. I think you just need to like shift your mind a little bit of how people actually use it, and that's kind of like a very unorthodox way of using social media.
It's a complicated way of doing it, though, as well, isn't it? Because it's such a, if you're a close friend, you're in the circle.
Yeah.
Versus if you're not, then you're not really invited. That division, I think, is one that is really, hopefully, falling out of style. But maybe that's just me. Anything to add in terms of events that you have coming up that you would like to invite everyone to?
Yes, you're all very welcome. On the 19th of September, you will be at the Africa Center in London, but of course with Berlin and London perspective, and it will really to advocate for Afro-Mediterranean inspiration, diaspora with artists, thinkers, designers, of course, and one brand from Morocco, Zubida, to discover, a bit crazy, very childish and playful, and so yeah, you're all welcome to join. And that Relais will be launched the website in September, so let's keep in touch.
Very exciting, something to look forward to. By my count, we still have a bit of time, so we will have questions. Everyone prepared? But before we do, just a quick final conclusion thought from all of you. What would you like the audience to go away with? Just one quick phrase. Think of this as like a manifestation stage. What do you want to see happen in the future in inclusion, and or what do you want them to take away today? I won't put the pressure on anyone. Any one of you can start.
I think I'll start. I think for me, it would really be about like, yeah, just starting with yourself, being you, fully.
Authenticity.
Yeah, and that will help you definitely connect and create an inclusive space for other people who can relate to you and the practice that you bring. So start there. Start with you, yourself. Be you. Oh my God. Anyway.
Yes. RuPaul would be pleased.
I mean, I don't really want to say in those way American celebrities always say, like, oh, you can achieve what you want to achieve, because we all know how difficult like it is in this industry. But because of everything that we talk about, I mean, there is certain degree of like opening that is possible if you are smart enough to look through the gap on what's needed. So yeah, I think it's a bit more optimistic than before, because it's not as elitist as before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's cool to care. You can be optimistic. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
This is a safe space. Buki, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, beside what you said, like being you and being true to yourself, also like to connect with each other and not staying, like step out of your comfort zone and connecting.
Connect, definitely. Lofty?
Yeah. I will say my inspiration are doulas, you know, the professional that actually give birth. And I'm certified doula as well. So it was really important and inspiring to see how midwives take care of parents for the creation, for the birth. And then I was really inspired by that. And so now I want to be the doula of new fashion muses and really to support the way, you know, with the kindness, with all the attention, because I do also think that the fashion sector and the creators, but everyone. We need our own doulas. So that's actually, doulas are my inspiration.
That is so beautiful and so powerful. Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
So audience, any questions? There we go.
Hi, my name is Arya. My question is for Declan. This is something I noted down actually when Alize was speaking, but I agree with what you said about brands using social media the way that we are trying to use social media, but do you also think this is going hand in hand with, everybody is not trying to chase the influencer lifestyle anymore, and people are actually trying to create more intimate communities with their friends and posting really authentic sides of themselves and not just what they want the world to see. So I guess it's an agreement and a question both. Yeah.
Wait, but, sorry, what's the question?
Sorry, maybe I was not clear. Yeah, just is this similar to the shift that we're seeing in consumers posting as well, in that everybody's not trying to just show sides of themselves that they want the world to see anymore and put on a show, but also kind of really be authentic, maybe in the close friend story, maybe just on their main story, that kind of thing.
I think, I don't know whether I answer your question or not. I think that brands, not just try to use influencers. Sometimes when they do marketing exercise, they try to use customer as well. Sometimes I see some brands organize not like a VIC event, but like a influencer trip that's actually customer. So I think it's just more, compared to before, it's really like the brands do think about how to include the customers in the conversation. Does that answer a question? I don't really think I answered that question.
It's definitely about the power shift, isn't it, between brands and audiences and that kind of shrinking. And I think it's also brands having to adapt. Because...
Yeah, I think I think a lot of conversation on TikTok is about how the death of influencer, where people just don't believe in influencer because they're just simply paid to do things. So they now a lot of shift of using like real people, but what I know is those real people are not real people. They're also curated. So.
But we're all curators now, aren't we?
Yeah.
As well. And I think more real people are being used in some instances. I think it just becomes, as soon as they blow up and then they become influencers. But I think it's refreshing that brands are doing it, for sure. Oh, you can stand if you want.
Okay. Hi. So it's not really a question, maybe more a comment and maybe also a little challenge to some of the things that have been said. Because we talked a lot about social media and TikTok, and it was mentioned as a liberal tool. Becoming viral is more easy now, and I don't know. I just, like the rest of the panel, I was thinking about if we're speaking about inclusion and we're speaking about identity and living in these times, like a lot of identities are under threat, and I don't know, it feels like we're missing a huge, huge point if we're not understanding that TikTok is like, and its inherent viral character is posing like a big, big threat on so many identities, and fashion as part of culture. I don't know if we're doing ourselves a favor in the long run if we're missing that point, to be honest. And obviously, I get what you're saying. It's easier for somebody who didn't walk through all elitist fashion education to get the word out. But I guess my question is, are we doing ourselves a favor if we're just adapting to virality as a huge value that is inherently a populist thing, So.
I think it also, what Alize was talking about earlier, that it's also about smaller communities, so not necessarily only about virality, but it's a double-edged sword, There is negativity to social media, there is threat to social media, but for example, for myself, I live in a very small town, and there were not a lot of people like me around there. Thanks to social media, I found a community and I find people that like what I do and like who I am, and I see examples of people around there. You're very right that when it's viral, sometimes even negative things and attacks can go viral. But I hope that future generations and all of us also just become smarter in what we see online and that we curate it for ourselves, because it's true, the algorithm curates it for us, and then it's up to us to try to shift that into what we want to see, I think. But there is negativity to it, definitely, but I try to see what is good about it, because a lot of good things came to it, for me, at least.
Okay, I see. No, I also think it's interesting because it's not about being viral or not, but it's just about what you can share as a content creator. Because before all this, I think we're all trained to like go to an event, smile at the camera, just do what you're supposed to do, and that's it. And now, like, I think people are expecting you to sort of tell more and share more of the truth. It's kind of more like the more you share the truth, you're more relevant in a way. For example, like 2 years ago, we start with like Becca with style.com, and then you get all these comments like, oh, you're just releasing a press release. And then last year it comes boring.com. We still don't know who he is. And then, the way he make commentary is kind of like trying to be more like real and truthful and not afraid of speaking the truth. Like the speaker before, she mentioned about Brenda hashtag, which is very vocal about things. So I just like it in a way where social media now allow you to be more fearless in a way because it's appreciated. Whereas I'm still adapting to it because I've worked in this for so long and I got too much to lose if I speak too much of the truth. So you sort of need to like choose how much you filter your truth. It's very interesting that it's still every day there's something new to learn.
There definitely is. From my perspective, I think you're completely right. The world is a dark place, but I think fashion's power is in the ability to reflect that and cause change. And I think the social media element of it, which has taken up a bit of the conversation today by virtue of who we have on stage, but it's only a small part of it. And I think the things that are happening in the wider economic, political world will have a huge impact on fashion and what's happening next. So I think if the last 5 years have been a time of huge change, the next 5 years will be completely unrecognizable as well. Anything you wanted?
Facts.
No? I keep feeling like you want to say something. I don't know.
Yes, I agree, actually, but we should not also forget that social media are a reality, but this is also, you have different parallel worlds, really, of collective, building bridges, also midwives. Honestly, they're doing creations. So it's Jasper communities. So of course, we see when you have social media, all this kind of way to communicate, but it's not the only one, even today. And we have plenty way also to create connection or advocate at different stage. So it's great that it exists, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all we have time for today, but thank you all. And thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.